Today we're going to discuss expectations and perfectionism. In last week's episode, we talked about progress, not perfection, in the sense of gauging where you are, realistically, looking at the progress you've made rather than the perfect expectations that you may have set for yourself. This week, I want to expand on that a little bit. I'll do that by asking a question. Have you ever had a tremendous idea, or there was something you wanted to start in your life that you knew was going to bring you great joy, great pleasure, great rewards, but you never started it because you didn't have the perfect plan to make it happen? Or maybe you did start the project. Maybe you did start writing that book, or you did start working on that symphony, or you did start pursuing that relationship, but you never completed it because you just felt you weren't perfect yet. I've heard some coaches talk about that in relationships, of how we'll set these standards of where we need to be financially and physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually in ourselves. We have this perfect vision of who we should be to attract the perfect mate into our lives, and we don't approach the person that we're really interested in because we haven't achieved that perfection yet. I guess the question is, how much are you robbing yourself of growth and experiences that you could have if you took that first step, or the next step if you've already started on the journey? So many of us, we set out to create something in our lives. And let's use the Self-Awareness 101 video series as an example. We're into somewhere in the 40th something episode by the time this one comes out. And when we started, we didn't have a crystal clear idea of what we wanted to do. We knew that we had a level of expectation for wanting to provide value to people, to give them skills and strategies to help them grow through some trying times that were happening in our economy and in our culture. We didn't have any level of perfection immediately set out, but Jerry and I both hold pretty high standards for the quality of what we want to give him in regards to his video production, and myself in the quality of the content. And we did the first 6 episodes, and we sent them out to our peer group, and we got feedback. And then we ended up reshooting some of those 6 episodes based on that feedback. Were they perfect? Not even close. Not to the level that Jerry and I wanted them to be. But we knew that we needed to put them out. Jerry and I operate on a principle that we learned from Tony Robbins, which is called CANI, constant and never-ending improvement. It's about constantly raising your standards, about constantly demanding more from yourself. And if you look at episode 1 of Self-Awareness 101 and you look at episode 43, I think you will see specific improvements that we've made in many areas, both in my presentation and in some of the things that Jerry has done with the video. If we would have waited to get to the standard of the 43rd video before we released the first one, we never would have done it. It never would have happened. Jerry and I were talking earlier, and there's this concept of, to truly get to where you need to go, you need to ship it. You need to put it out there. And a lot of people don't experience the joy that they could have in their life. They don't experience the level of success, the level of freedom, the level of peace that they could have because they never get around to shipping it. They have these super high expectations. As I shared in last week's episode, I'm starting on a new health regimen of eating more nutritiously and more regularly. And if I set some unrealistic expectation for myself that, in 30 days I was going to lose 30 pounds, I was going to do this, set all these rules up, I'm setting myself up to fail. Setting standards for yourself is a wonderful thing. I think it's the best way for us to move forward. But when you set a standard of perfectionism, expectations that are so high that you get scared of even taking that first step, or of letting it out there, of getting it out to the public who's going to give you the feedback on it, or having, again, with a relationship, a set of expectations or perfectionism of where you need to be before you're going to be compatible or attractive to somebody. The likelihood is that you're going to sabotage yourself and never even take the first step that you need to take, or take the final step that you need to take. So what I'd like to offer to you in this episode as an exercise is to look at the patterns in your life. Do you have the pattern of being somebody who is great at coming up with ideas, but you rarely implement them? Are you someone who is great at starting projects but doesn't finish them? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And if you look closely, you may find that what's been holding you back is a level of expectations that you've set for yourself, or a sense of perfectionism. If you've been thinking about writing a book, setting down the very first time at your keyboard and thinking you're going to flawlessly write the next great novel, kind of unrealistic. But if you sit down and you do your best, and then you check the progress that you've made, and you raise your standards and you put it out to your peer group, not just to your peer group, know that there's going to come a place where you've got to put it out to the public, the people who don't know you, because that's where the feedback's going to come from. Some of the greatest growth that Jerry and I feel that we've made in this series has come from the feedback that we've gotten from the general public. And some of it has not been kind feedback, but it allowed us to look at things from a perspective that our friends alone wouldn't have allowed us to see it from. Perfectionism is a great thing to strive for, but I think the reality is that you need to know that this is a journey. You're going to grow. You're going to continue to raise that bar farther and farther. So although perfectionism may be a thing you're shooting for, understand it's something you're not going to reach, because you'll always be looking for bigger, better, greater ways to achieve it. So what I invite you to do is, whatever you've been holding yourself back from starting or completing, take the steps this week to move forward. Look at the progress, not the perfection. I look forward to your feedback. I look forward to connecting again soon, and take care. For a transcription of the video you just watched, more videos, and related articles, visit yourdailylifecoach.com. To comment on this video, select Discussion Forums on any page of our website.